future. We will be recording this. So right now, none of you can be seen or heard. When we get to the end of Ruth's presentation, we will take you off of mute and you can share and ask questions directly to her. At this time, though, if you do have questions that you want to ask or comments, you can do those under the chat feature. I will be monitoring that. I won't interrupt Ruth in the middle of her presentation, but if there are questions, we will make sure those get asked to her at the end of the presentation. So please put those into the chat. You can also use the Q&A. I will look at both of those. But with that, I'm Jeremy Oddie. I'm the Director of Outreach and Education with the Wisconsin Parkinson Association. We've been doing this Wednesday webinar. This is our second year doing it. We thought it was very important because obviously in the winter months, we don't do a lot of in-person programs because of travel and weather. So we thought these webinars were a great way to provide information and outreach to our clients that we serve. So hopefully you enjoy this. We have more scheduled for December, and then we will do more in January, February, and March. Continue to watch for those on our website as we put those out, and you can register and join us. The nice thing about today's presentation and the two more we have scheduled for December, we will be able to record these, so these will be put onto our website that you can view those or share with family down the road. Unfortunately, a lot of the other programs we do, because they are pharmaceutical sponsored, we can't record those because of FDA regulations. So those you just have to catch or wait till they come out again. So with that, I'm going to introduce Ruth Busalacchi from Synergy Home Care. Ruth is going to do the caregiver filling your vessel exercise. She's going to talk a lot about what it means to be a caregiver and things you can do. With that, I'm going to step away and I'm going to hand it over to Ruth Busalacchi.
Very good. Thank you so much. Are you ready for me to share screen?
Yes, please do so.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I'm so happy to be sharing this exercise. It is without a doubt one of my favorite exercises because taking care of the caregiver is so crucial. So the first thing I want to do is I want to applaud every one of you who is either live today or who's going to be watching this recorded. You took the time for yourself. And I hope that at the end of this exercise today that you're going to find something that was of value for you so you can continue taking care of yourself. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started and want to talk a little bit about what is filling our vessel? What's this concept? Well, and you may have heard of this before. You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you think about that, how do we fill that cup? How do you fill the vessel, which is you, every day, every week, so that you have something to give back? So please remember that. And whatever cups that you chose, hopefully they're cups that are favorites of yours, and hopefully you'll drink from those cups frequently, and that will be your visual reminder that you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to continually refill your own vessel. So very briefly, a little bit of background about myself. I am an owner of a home care business. I've been in business since 2010, and we have approximately about 100 employees who provide a small amount of support up to 24 hours a day for individuals who choose to continue staying in their own homes. I am considered a senior expert on the Morning Blend, which is on WTMJ4, if you've ever watched the show. And it's wonderful for me to be able to just talk about topics that seniors are dealing with and giving you ideas. So if you have a chance, log on to the Morning Blend or look up the Morning Blend episodes of Synergy Home Care. My background has been forever and ever in this industry. Before I started Synergy, I used to be a director for Lutheran Social Services. I used to open and license residential homes and assisted livings. And since I started Synergy Home Care, because of my own personal experiences, it was important for me to be involved with the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association. So I've been a board member. I've been a committee member for the caregivers, and I'm forever and ever one of your #1 fans for the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association. I'm also a facilitator for support groups and do some volunteering. And for me, we all need to fill our vessels. So for me, the things I like to do, I like to practice yoga. I like music. Music helps fill my vessel. I love live concerts, and they're back. Isn't that wonderful? I love playing my ukulele. Boy, that is one instrument that you cannot strum without making people smile. So that's been great for me. And of course, I love being with my family. And this is my story, and this is what brings me to specifically want to help and participate in all the efforts that Wisconsin Parkinson's is involved in. Just a photo of me and my dad back in 1965. That's me and my dad. And then in 2009, that was a photo of me and my father. My father had Parkinson's disease. And because of my background in this industry, I helped my parents. I helped my father so that he would always know what might be coming and that he could make choices for himself along his journey. And I watched very closely my mother. I wanted to make sure that my mother continued to get the support that she needed so that she could have the rest, so that she could be a wife first and foremost. And obviously, selfishly, we wanted mom to be able to survive being a care partner. So it was that experience that really inspired me after the passing of my father about 13 years ago to start Synergy Home Care and to help others on their journey, giving them thoughts about how they want to go on their unique journey. So a little bit about care partners. Who is a care partner? A care partner could be obviously the person living with someone who has Parkinson's disease, but it could also be a family friend who's taken over some responsibility. It could be an adult child or a sibling. Doesn't have to necessarily be the person who's living with, but a care partner has many forms. And then we also, of course, want to talk about respite. For those of you who are not familiar with that word, respite means a break. And respite is something that can be done for a weekend, for a week at a time, or it can be done in small spurts. It can be done every single day. So respite, and most importantly, respite can be brought into your home. I think in the past, we used to think of the word respite as a place to go, but it's just really important to know that respite is how you, as the care partner, receive a break so that you continue doing what you need to do to help the person that is important to you. The other thing about respite, I just sort of want to plant a seed here, and we can talk about that later, is that in every county and in every state, there is grant money for respite. So if you are providing support to a care partner, let's talk about that. There might be some funding available for you to help pay for respite. And then, of course, we talked about filling our own vessel. In order for you to continue doing the things that you do, you have to refill your own vessel. So to prepare for the demonstration today, hopefully you have gathered your glasses. And what we're going to do is we're going to be filling them, or emptying them rather, into the empty glass. You're going to empty the water into the empty glass. I want you to have the right mindset for today. And I don't know if individuals who have Parkinson's are sitting in on this video. And I just want you to know the mindset is, for the moment, I want the care partners to be selfish. You need to think about yourself. You have to remove any sense of guilt that you might have thinking about the stress that it's causing you. Because this is an exercise that's going to be unique to you. And it's an exercise that's going to help you be a better care partner. So again, for those of you who have Parkinson's disease, please, keep that in mind. I want you to get in the mindset of thinking about the things that you do every day. Your physical stressors, your emotional stressors, loss of a partner and the help that they offered because of their Parkinson's disease. And then when we think about those actions, you have to think of stress. How much stress does this cause me? Is it a little bit of stress? Pour a little bit of water out. If it's a lot of stress, pour a lot of water out. And again, there is no judgment. So however you feel, it makes sense to you. All right. So I think we're going to get started. Daily stressors. We're going to think about physical stress. on your body. So I want you to think about the morning routine. Because you are now providing support to your care partner, has your morning routine changed? Are you helping someone get dressed? Are you helping someone get out of bed? Are you the kind of person who used to have a morning routine of read the paper, have some coffee before you kind of got moving? Are you tend to be slower in the morning, and now has that changed? So based on your morning routine and the stressors it's causing you, take your glass and start pouring water. If it's just a little bit of change, pour a little bit out into the empty vessel. And if it's a lot, if it's caused you a lot of change, pour a little bit more out. When you're doing that, you want to think about, do you also find yourself doing more tasks in the morning than you used to? And again, if that's the case, and if that's causing you stress, empty the water. You also want to think about, are you taking on more chores that perhaps your care partner used to do in the morning? Have you taken on those tasks? Are you sleeping less than you used to because of the relationship that you now have? And I hope we all appreciate that sleep is precious. So if you are getting less sleep, I'm going to encourage you to identify that as a stressor. Do you find yourself doing some more laundry? Do you find yourself going up and down the stairs more frequently? In and out of the house more frequently? Shopping trips, those types of things. So those are physically demanding to your body, and they're changing the physical routine. All right, we're going to move on to the next aspect of stressors, and that's emotional or financial. And Jeremy pointed out today that COVID-19 itself is a stressor for all of us. But thinking about that, has the pandemic caused you more emotional stress? And however that feels to you, you want to empty the glass. Again, think about yourself. We recognize that, of course, your partner has been impacted as well by COVID-19, but how has it impacted you personally? Let's also think about emotional support and the people in your family and the people that care about you. Are well-meaning family members causing you stress because maybe they're questioning the actions that you're taking related to your care partner? Or perhaps when you talk to your family and give them updates, some of the questions that they ask you are really meant for the doctor, or perhaps you didn't think to ask those questions, and just not thinking of that question to ask the doctor causes you stress. Is that kind of a relationship that you're coping with right now? Do you find yourself, even virtually, do you find yourself isolating from friends and social groups in the last, couple of months? Do you worry financially? Do you worry about your long-term financial future as a result of what you've been going through as a family? Do you wonder if the next stage in your partner's Parkinson's journey is something that you're prepared to handle? Are those things you worry about? And again, take your water glass and empty out based on how much stress that causes you. Do you find yourself perhaps short with your family and friends? You're not as patient, you're not as tolerant of conversations. And do you find yourself spending more time advocating for your care partner and ultimately neglecting your own needs? So again, those are very important things to empty. Now, I don't know if anyone has gotten there yet, but it's possible you may have already emptied your water glass full of water and emptied it into the other vessel. And if you've done that, that's okay. Just kind of make a mental note of when in this exercise you already have an empty glass. Oh, and that's my next slide. Did you run out of water? Okay, so if you've already run out of water, you need to, number one, during this exercise, you all have to give yourself permission to be a priority. You have to give yourself permission to be a priority. And one of the ways to do that is to be very practical. Start creating a list of things that people can do. And I I'm going to guess that those of you who are attending or watching this recording are the type of people who will say to someone else in other circumstances, is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do to help? Because you're a caregiver. That's who you are. That's your mentality. Well, you know what? Now it's time for you to receive. It's time for you to receive. So when someone says to you, what can I do to help? I want you to be prepared. Today, at the end of this exercise, I want you to start creating a list of things that people could do to help you. And they could be small. I love to bring up the example of, you could tell a neighbor to bring in your trash cans or take out your trash cans. Simple, right? But it could be snowing out, it could be raining out, you could be tired. That could be a very simple thing for someone to do. Bringing in the mail. If you have a neighbor who says, I shop once a week, could you say, could you give me a quick call and see if I need maybe milk or bread? Those are simple things that people can do. I want you to start making that list. And if you're real tech savvy, you can start putting the list on your phone, because we always have our phones with us, right? So you can start creating notes. And when things pop up in your head of things that people can do, put them in the notes. Do you have friends and family who love to cook? Ask them, once a week, would you mind making a home cooked meal for my family? Those people who love to cook would be very happy to do that. That would make them very happy indeed. And it could be also you getting a break. If it's somebody who your care partner enjoys their company, say to them, could you come over on Sunday and watch the football game with my husband or my wife, and then I can take a nap. Or I can go shopping, or I can do whatever I want to at that day. Those are simple things to do. And don't forget that there are people in your life that are out of town and they want to help too. There are things that they can do. You could, if you have adult children who want to be helpful, maybe they can take over paying the bills if that's something that causes you stress. Or you might have a family member who's really good at coordinating appointments and scheduling appointments. Because my guess is that you still have your own appointments to take care of. And we all know that that can be challenging, and making sure that, when you get your explanation of benefits, that everything looks appropriate, that takes a lot of time. Now you're doing it for two, right? And now your partner is probably going to more appointments because of their medical conditions. So asking someone to help to do that, boy, the people who love to do it are right on it. And if that releases you from that extra stress, be willing to accept it. And if you have family who, again, lives virtually, you could set up some virtual chat time with the care partner. Pick a time of the day where they catch up. Maybe it's a time when you like to take a nap, or maybe it's a time when you want to make dinner, and you can have your loved one sitting in on a FaceTime call or a standing Zoom call. Those kinds of things are fantastic gifts that people love to give and that would help you and your family. And even delivered meals as a birthday gift or a holiday gift, those are things, again, that can really make a world of difference. So the other things that you can do is you could certainly think about hiring help. You could hire someone to do the lawn work. You could hire someone to mow the lawn. You can hire people to clean your house. And of course, because I provide home care, we recognize that you can hire someone to come in the home and do the things that cause you a little extra stress. Maybe it is the housekeeping. Maybe you'd rather not do the housekeeping. Maybe you don't like cooking and you'd like to hire someone to come in and do the cooking. A caregiver can do that and more. A caregiver can help with exercises for your loved one. A caregiver can help in the bathroom. A caregiver can help with a bath once or twice a week, so that you and your partner can continue being, and son, mother and father and daughter. You can maintain those relationships as much as possible by bringing in professional help. The other thing that you can do, and we're back now, day programs are back, is you can find a day program that fits the interests and personality of your partner, and they can attend some events at a day program, a local day program, and that gives you time to do things for yourself. That in and of itself is respite. So my parents did the same thing, and my father, who ended up going to day programming, went to a day program where there were other veterans, so he had people that he could talk to and they could relate. The other thing that I have heard my father say often was, well, I'm doing this for my wife. Because remember, the person who has Parkinson's wants to do something for you. They're sorry that they can't do the things that they can do. So by them releasing you of some of that responsibility, that's their gift to you as well. So recognize that. Allow them to participate in helping you in one way or another. And going to day programs, bringing in professional help. Those are ways that they can be giving back to you as the caregiver. Don't shy away from emotional support groups, spiritual help, if that's important to you. Think about the things that renew your spirit. Think about the things that make you smile. And when you get to that point, I want you to start making a list of how can I accomplish having those things back in my life so that every day, every week, I can fill back my vessel, right? Instead of always emptying it, you want to fill it back up. How do I fill up my vessel? And again, don't forget that your care partner cares as much about you as you care about them, and allow them to do something for you. Allow them to do what they can do. So I want to congratulate all of you, because now you have the permission to take care of yourself. You've gone through this exercise and now you've been given permission to take care of yourself. There's support in terms of respite support. There's support in terms of professional help, and there's support in the people that you know and love who want to help you. So keep that glass handy, and every day I want you to look at that glass and I want you to remember, what did I do today? Or what can I do today to fill my vessel? With that, I will take any questions if they have come in while we were discussing.
No questions yet, but if you want to ask questions, you can put them in the Q&A or the chat feature. And if you want to go out of screen share, Ruth, I can actually open up microphones for people.
Perfect. We'll do that. So now I see Gina Miller, Barbara Erickson, Kelly Suslak. Now I see names. That's nice to see names.
Yep, and I'm opening up. You're all muted right now, but if you have questions, feel free to ask.
One thing I will say is that, and I don't know if any of you have participated in this exercise at the symposium. I've also conducted this exercise with support groups. So if any of you are in a support group, this is a great exercise for the group. And I would be happy to do that.
Hi, this is Kelly Suslak. I do have a question.
Hello, Kelly.
Hi. If someone's interested in getting connected, say with your agency or looking into the kind of in-home support, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that you would do is give us a call. And Jeremy, do you have my phone number?
I do. Let me grab it and I will put it in the chat.
Yeah, the first thing you would do is call us. And it doesn't matter if you're just considering and maybe not ready at this point. In fact, I would tell you that that's a preference, right? So we all want to be prepared for things and not be in a crisis. You can't make as many decisions that you really want when you're in a crisis. But you would call our office. We would set up a time to meet with you and your loved one at a time that's convenient with you. And we would then listen to what you and your loved one are going through right now and areas that supportive home care might make sense. And then we could present that to you and say, this is what we think we could offer to support your family. Some families start very small, most do in fact, and it's usually maybe once or twice a week for a couple of hours. Whenever someone says, I want respite, we do encourage them to take at least a 4-hour visit. You want to have a break for 4 hours. If you think about watching a movie, if you go to the movies, right, with friends and family, or you go shopping, if you only do 2 hours or 3 hours, probably halfway in between whatever it is that you're doing, you're already starting to think about going home, right? And so you really haven't gotten that true break, that true release. So that's really what we would do. We would talk about the cost. We'd look at, how that might fit within your budget. The one thing that we do at Synergy Home Care is, because I have a social service background, I and my team, we always look at everything else first before we look at our services. So is your loved one a veteran? Because there are benefits for veterans. Is the person who has Parkinson's a surviving spouse of a veteran? There are benefits for veterans and the surviving spouse. Respite benefits I talked about earlier. Is there funding in your area that's still available? Usually at this time of the year, the funding has run out, but I always say, get yourself on the list and be there ready for 2022, because the money comes in every year. And then, at that point, then we look at how much would it cost.
Thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome, Kelly. Can I add to that too? We talked about putting it in your back pocket. Let's say you're not ready at this time to try services. At least you've had that conversation. That's why I love that information gathering meeting. You should never feel pressure that you have to make a decision that day, but it's in your back pocket. And then when you do have an unfortunate situation or a medical setback, and now the doctors and the social workers are saying, I think you need to start thinking about maybe moving, or they start having those conversations, then you can turn around and say, okay, tell us what we need. Tell us the things that you're concerned about. And then they'll start telling you, I think maybe you need help because you're at a fall risk at this point. You need some changes around the house, or you need to move. All of those types of things can be brought into the home. And what's so important about that conversation is it gives you the ability to say, you tell me what I need, because I know that we can find it, and I know that we can bring it back in our home.
I have one other question. Thank you for going through that. So who are the individuals that are actually going into the homes? Are they nurses or all different types of individuals? Or
so the service that we offer is considered in the medical world, it's considered non-medical. So a caregiver can be a caregiver who's a certified nursing assistant or has years of experience but not certified. Some of our caregivers don't have personal care experience because some of our clients don't even need personal care.
Okay.
So you need a companion. So that's why it's so important to meet, because then we match up the right skill sets and the right personality of a caregiver with your family member. So I would actually call that a personal assistant, which I think everyone on this panel, right? We should all have personal assistants in our life.
I agree. Thank you.
Welcome. Can I make a correction? Actually, our main number is, and I can add it in the chat, 763-8368. So I'll add it in. Sometimes when you go online, it comes up as a funny number.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It'll stream to us, but the main 763-8368. And we answer our phones 24/7 because we provide care 24/7. So if you call, somebody in my office will answer. And if you want to set up a meeting, they can pull up, my schedule and my managers. And if we're not in your area, we're going to help you find somebody in your area, or we'll direct you back to the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association.
Perfect. And I just made sure that's out to everybody, so hopefully everybody sees that.
I was just going to say, yep, it wasn't coming through. Okay, great.
Yeah, I realize, technology is new and I'm getting used to this, Ruth. I was only posting those messages to you. So I'm sending them to everybody now.
Got it. Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Other questions from the audience? I think Ruth covered a lot of things. I think as caregivers, especially with the holidays, with COVID, I think our vessels are very full. So hopefully she's given you some activities and thoughts on how to handle that. But anything else you want to ask her from a caregiver perspective, or even from a home care perspective, as Kelly asked?
while people are thinking, I do have something to add. So I saw a recent study that said 80% of a family caregiver has not had the conversation about what is it that you want to do in the future. If this happens or that happens, if you're no longer able to get out of bed on your own. And so 80%, and that's kind of surprising, but I think it's a scary conversation to have. So what I would encourage you to do is start the conversation about, do you want to stay home? Is that your intention to stay home? Do we have your financial situation worked out in a way that we can accomplish that? And let's work on that, you know. Are the legal documents in place? You know, does your loved one have a financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney? Because you don't want to be in a crisis and have to start dealing with that, right? So the more that you can have these conversations, and the holidays are a good time, the better prepared you are. And I would say, if a family member who hasn't seen you or hasn't seen your loved one makes a comment, you know, that maybe they're concerned or they're noticing a difference, use that as your trigger. You know, be willing to use that as your trigger to say, okay, let's start having this conversation. Because with the way that Medicare funds your health needs like physical therapy, occupational therapy, with all the options of bringing care into your home or moving someplace, there's so many options. With all the funding options, you can pretty much chart your own course. If you are vocal about what your course is, you can pretty much chart that course. You just have to be vocal about it. Even to the point of, what if you do run out of money, right? None of us have a money tree. And again, our government and our state of Wisconsin has a very good program that says, if you've run out of money and you need long-term care because of a physical condition, we will help you. We will pay for that. So there's a process for that. So instead of just being afraid and wondering, start having the conversations.
And I would echo what you just said, Ruth. When we started doing some of these online programs, we actually met with an attorney and have what we call Ask the Expert, where they talked about a lot of people don't have these discussions until it's too late. So I think it's really important, as you said, to really figure out those, make sure you know what their wishes are, but then also plan ahead, because if long-term care in the home is not the desired course, there's a lot of things you need to consider when you go into that. So look into it. And I think you and I've talked, I know I've shared this story at my support group before, where we had somebody come in and talked about hospice care and having your wishes known, like what do I want to do as I get ill? Am I DNR? Am I not? And a husband and wife who had been married 52 years were sitting next to me, and they argued because he said he wanted to be cremated. She said, no, you don't. And he's like, that's always been my wish. And they really realized after 52 years, they've never even talked about it once.
Wow.
So it's really important to have that discussion. So I would definitely reinforce what you said and tell people that now's the time. You know, there's no time like the present.
So we're thinking of holidays, right? We're thinking of gifts. I want all of you at the end of this call to start making your list of things that people can do for you. Remember, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. If you can pass this little thing onto someone else and it takes a burden off of you, you don't have to be completely stressed out to start asking for help. You know, be smart about that. Make sure you're filling your vessel. Your family loves you and they want you to be healthy as well.
Along that way, I think you kind of talked about, Ruth, you talked about your mom and dad.
Yes.
And I think from your perspective, providing home care, some of the stuff you do, and you talk about the vessel, can you touch a little bit on how important it is for the caregivers on this call, that if they don't take care of themselves, we're going to end up with 2 people in the hospital or 2 people in long-term care versus 1. And can you talk about maybe some of the stuff you see from a personal and professional level?
Absolutely. So, you know, there's a reason that our government pays for respite care, because ultimately they recognize, they've seen the data that shows caregivers, family caregivers become so stressed out that physically and emotionally they start having problems and they start going to the hospital. right? And they start spending Medicare dollars. I mean, that's the truth. That's why our government recognizes we've got to take care of the caregiver, right? Or they're going to be spending more government dollars through Medicare. And so we see it all the time. The studies are out there that show it, that the stress causes physical and emotional damage to you yourself if you're not taking care of yourself. And I love to see what we call the sigh of relief, because anyone bringing somebody into their home, that's an uncomfortable feeling, right? It's a very intimate space. If you can find the right organization to give you the right fit, and we can ease into that relationship, suddenly your care partner is going to start looking forward to these visits because they like the relationship they have with their caregiver. Suddenly you're going to start smiling more, right? And your family is going to notice suddenly that you look more relaxed. You know, what are you doing different? You're looking more relaxed. Being willing to step into that and allow others to help, whether they're family or professional, will absolutely make a difference in your life. When my parents had a caregiver, before I started Synergy, my father, we brought in care. He loved when this caregiver came in, he asked her all kinds of questions about her life and her culture. And it turned out she was also a gardener. So my mother enjoyed conversations with her because she's a big time gardener. I mean, you just never see, you never imagine how that's going to enrich your life. And when I think back to that particular caregiver and the caregivers that we had for my parents, to this day, they're angels in my mind. We couldn't have done it without them. And that's the willingness to allow others to help you.
Well said, Ruth. I think that was great. Any other questions from the people who have joined us? There's a handful of you still with us. If not, we can definitely end the call early, but I'll give everybody one more call to see if anybody wants to ask another question or just say thanks to Ruth and go from there.
Well, it was a pleasure. I'm so grateful that all of you thought this was important enough, that you are important enough to listen in. So I wish you all the very best.
Well, perfect. I appreciate it, Ruth. It doesn't look like we have any questions. If anybody on the call does have another question, you can always email us. You can go to our website, wiparkinson.org. Again, that's wiparkinson.org, and just send a question to the general mailbox there. I believe that is mail@wiparkinson.org. So you can send us an email. I'll make sure those get to Ruth, and we'll do any follow-up with you. As we said in the chat, the phone number is there, 414-763-8368. But again, Ruth, thank you so much for your time. It's always such a valuable presentation. It's so good for our caregivers to see this, our care partners to see this. And for those of you who joined us, hopefully we will see you again next week when we talk about fall prevention. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and thank you all for joining us.
Take care.